Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Many people ask me what I mean when I talk about freedom. I speak and write about freedom as one of the main goals, one of the main tasks of correct and true thinking, properly organized language.
Правильного и истинного мышления, правильно организованного языка.
Because freedom is actually something that arises as a result of a deep program of interpretation of the Holy Scriptures, the Holy Scriptures of the Quran. It is something that must be achieved through the application of correct thinking that is associated with the interpretation of the Quranic Scriptures. So what is freedom? Freedom is a very difficult thing, which of course is not correlated with what Western liberals understand by it. First of all, our freedom is correlated with the fact that we are servants of the God. Each of us is Abd Allah. And as one of the companions of the Prophet said, whatever you imagine, whatever you think, no matter how you extended your experience, your contemplation, the God is opposite to this. We are servants of the One who is opposite to everything we can think about and imagine. All our experience is only a support for what is not included in this experience, and that this experience, ideas, everything that can be postponed and spun off from this experience is the opposite. So, if we are servants of the One who is out of our sight, who is Huwa, which means He, who is not given to us in any way other but in revelation. If we are His servants, then we are free from everything else. We are free from everything that fills our experience, stuffs our brains, stuffs our minds, our unconscious, and so on. This is a liberation. But what kind of liberation it is? This is a liberation not to make some choices. Western freedom is usually described as a freedom to choose between two or more types of goods. That is like freedom of customers in the supermarket. Freedom of a Muslim is completely different. I'll just give you an example of how this freedom works. Once, in an interview, I explained that there are three types of freedom. First is internal freedom, second is an existential freedom, and third is a political freedom. I was asked, but what did you mean in that interview when you was talking about three types of freedom? And I tried to give an example that would quickly, clearly and brightly explain what I meant. Back in the days I had a good French friend, a doctor at the French embassy. He used to be a student of mine, as one can say. We talked a lot and he listened very carefully to what I was saying. It seemed to me that he is a follower who is passionate with our communication and what he learns from me. But one day we were in a Moscow in some apartment. It was November, these were the early 80s. It was time of Brezhnev. He looked at the falling snowflakes, at the slush, at the gloomy figures of people moving there in the dim light of the lanterns.
Падающие снежинки на слякоть, на мрачные фигуры людей, двигающихся там в тусклом свете фонарей.
And he exclaimed, how I want to be in the society. How I want to be a member of a normal society. How I want to be in the square in front of the Grand Opera now, to see the Parisian crowd emerging from the show, these lights, this Eiffel Tower and garlands, to be a member of society. Because I feel like I vegetate senselessly, lost in here. I was shocked. As I remember, his name was Krashin. I said to him, Krashin, have you just completely ignored, thrown out, bracketed everything that we have talked about so far? It seemed to me that you understand me. What are you talking about? What society you are talking about? Do you really feel some sense of being only by being a screw in a social machine? He continued, without listening to me, whimpering that he wants to be in Paris now, because everything is meaningless if he is not really a gear of this machine. I remembered this example. I explained to the questioner that this case is a very good illustration of the question, what are the three types of freedom, internal, existential and political, mean in the Islamic way of understanding. This cretin had internal freedom, because he could listen to me. He had enough freedom to listen to me and understand me somehow, because there are some people who are so deprived of freedom, that they cannot listen to anything that does not matches to their matrix, which does not matches to the way they had been stamped. They only listen to things that falls within the narrow scope of their program. And he had the freedom to listen to me with great interest. But he did not have existential freedom, because he could not experience what he had learned from me. After all, existential freedom is an opportunity to experience, not only listening to what is not included in your matrix, but also to experience as a truth what is alien to your matrix. That means to distance yourself, to free yourself from association with this Parisian crowd. He hadn't such freedom. Not even talking about political freedom. But there are some of our brothers who, firstly, being born non-Muslims, revert to Islam. That is, they already have a manifestation of inner freedom, which allows them to step over the matrix in which they were programmed. And then they go to the Middle East and take part in the fateful actions that decide the fate of the Islamic society. This is both existential and political freedom. When they can not only experience, not only hear, not only accept, but also experience and then perform actions that can lead them to the testimony. This is, we can say, a manifestation of perfect political freedom. Но и пережить, и после этого совершить действия, которые могут повести к их шахаде. Это уже, так сказать, проявление совершенной политической свободы. Those are the three levels of freedom in the name of the Almighty, the freedom of servant of the God which absolutely distinguish us from all others, which make us free from any matrix. Because orientation towards Islamic law is not programmed by matrix, it is a conscious, clear and inclusive orientation. Это не запрограммированность матрицы. Это ориентация сознательная, ясная и включенная. И она является прежде всего волей к справедливости. This is primarily a will to justice. It is not an acceptation of something just because we were taught about it from our childhood, just like 2 times 2 is 4 or Grandpa Lenin is a friend of the Octobrists. But our freedom is based on the fact that we want to see a meaning in everything, in any act, in any phenomenon, in every gesture, and so on. Because we are told that the God did not create anything in vain among everything He has created. And we want to achieve this goal, which the Almighty meant, to realize it in our actions and our experience. This is a real freedom.